So much drama that William Shakespeare himself would have a migraine if he watched this episode.
Halte dich von diesem Mädchen fern.
Do you feel it too?
Hi, I'm Lady Genevieve, and on my channel I talk about entertainment media. Today we're going to be doing a quick spoiler review of Maxton Hall Season 2, Episode 5. The episode opens with James and Ruby swept up in their love and passion. They're heading back to the Beaufort place, villa, I don't know. Lydia sees them, and she's happy to see them being happy, as are all of us. Lydia's heart is big, and I hate how this show treats her. I hate how most people treat her in this universe. The love story I want Lydia to have is one of self-love, so she can learn to just go out into the world and make her own path. Now, the storm has rolled in, so guess who comes home? Mortimer Beaufort, whom we hate, because he's the worst. He's insufferable. I have mixed feelings about them trying to give this character a small drop of nuance in this episode, of showing him capable of being polite to Ruby and then being really emotionally affected at having memories stirred up of his dead wife Claudia. With all due respect, I don't care about this man's feelings. This is far too little too late to try to make me see him as a nuanced human being. I don't know whether to be understanding or aggravated at James for being foolish enough to expose Ruby to his father's wrath. You know more than well enough how dangerous he is. The threats he has made against Ruby directly to your face to try to scare you off of being with her. Need I remind all of you in the audience that James never really shared with Ruby the full specifics of what threats Mortimer made against her. He was very specific. Rewatch the show. I'm genuinely baffled that he's kept this from Ruby, and here's why. Have any of you ever heard that expression that says something along the lines of strict parenting creates sneaky kids? Are we just conveniently forgetting that Mortimer hit James in the season 1 finale? Because there's no way that if James was a real person and not a fictional character on a TV show that's quite entertaining, that he would have forgotten that. When your parent physically harms you, you don't forget that that happened, what is it, 1 or 2 months later? Whatever the timeline of the show is supposed to be. I know he was in a car accident, but he wasn't even in the hospital for that long before they let him go, so I'm going to assume his injuries weren't all that severe. And now his father is polite one time, and we're supposed to believe that James will go, yeah, so you know how we were terrified of the consequences of my father finding out literally 1 episode ago, but then we got swept up in the moment and revealed ourselves to one of my enemies? How about we just pull a relationship jump scare on my violent, abusive, extremely vengeful father in his house? James, are you sober? Are you alert? What part of your brain is malfunctioning in order to think that this was a good idea? And mind you, I understand that if the show needed Mortimer to find out for the sake of the plot, you need to get the characters to reach that point somehow of him knowing. So how about Mortimer just walks into his house and she's there, and our young star-crossed lovers weren't ready for that reveal, but now they have no choice but to try to play nice because they're in survival mode. And actually, I have a similar, though not identical, complaint about the phone. Remember how I was harping on the phone in an earlier review? How as soon as Mortimer took James's phone at the hospital, all of the alarms were blaring in my mind? Well, they follow up on what we already knew. Any sensible person could have predicted this. Mortimer has been lurking on the contents of James's mobile phone. I hate that they show us the layout of him looking at the contents on his laptop. Have you ever tried to log into something on a new device? You immediately get emailed saying exactly that. Sometimes you have to confirm that it was really you instead of some nefarious figure trying to break into your accounts. It's just too easy for me to poke holes in the logistics of how you filmed this because Mortimer is on his laptop, but I don't see James's phone plugged into the laptop, so you seem to be trying to suggest that Mortimer is looking at James's information through the cloud. But if you're getting into another person's cloud account, you have to log into that account, and if you do that on a new device, you're going to get an email saying that someone is trying to log in on a new device, and then James would know that someone was trying to log into his cloud account. He's either, 17, 18? He's not 10. or however old people are nowadays when they're given their first smartphone by a parent who doesn't understand that that's a terrible idea to give a child a device like that. I would have sooner believed Mortimer would use his obscene wealth and money to contact spooks who work for the government and can simply hack his son's phone that way. I could have sworn there was a phone hacking scandal in the UK tabloids within the last decade or so. I don't remember the details. Any Brits in the audience, if you remember that story, please refresh my memory. Did that happen when I was in London? I don't remember. But anyway, I don't know how old the people making the show are, but if you want Mortimer to get to the final destination of breaking into James's phone, you could do that for the plot. But I just don't like how you got there because it inevitably interrupted my immersion in the story when you're doing things wrong. That's not how technology works. Sometimes you don't need to over-explain things, and it will land better for the overthinkers in the audience. Hello, it's me. It's me! Also, and this is admittedly more of a pet peeve that I have, I hate when people text or message each other and then it gets presented as a way of them communicating in a visual medium. I just find it ugly and unengaging to watch on screen. Whenever someone like Robert Eggers says that he's just going to keep doing period pieces because he shudders at the thought of filming characters on mobile phones, I feel like I'm at home because I feel the same way. If you're talking on a phone, that's fine, but I need you to not just throw up texts on a screen. Just work around that. Write the scenes around the characters actually being with one another in the same place. But anyway, that's not as severe of a nitpick I have with Maxton Hall as I did with the whole Mortimer is in James's cloud account detail. I will not let that go. I will, though, once I finish editing this video, because then I don't have to think about it again. The other part of this episode that really bothered me, where I just don't like the writing and I don't understand why we need to see it, the board meeting. Why would a teenager who has not gone to university yet be expected to attend an important meeting like this? He hasn't even attended university yet. I keep saying it because it still doesn't make sense. And when they're trying to go into the logistics of how this company works, of them going on and on about how, well, they need to win back the impressions of the customers they already have, I don't understand, nor do I care. There's a cost of living crisis more or less everywhere. Who is going to buy your overpriced clothing? How do you expect to stay in business? As far as living expenses go, people are worrying about food, water, housing, and energy. Let your company go under. I hope it does, actually. I know that James and Lydia would be much happier living regular lives instead of having these ridiculous expectations placed upon them by their supervillain father. A question for the audience. Are we all in agreement that Percy and Claudia definitely had a thing when they were younger? We know that Maxton Hall is ending after 3 seasons, but if the powers that be are thirsty to milk this IP, which is kind of a common business practice nowadays, I wouldn't be opposed to a prequel of the forbidden, doomed love story of Claudia and Percy. A period piece where none of the characters will be texting or messaging each other on a mobile phone. I'm already on board. Maybe just a limited series, though, because I don't want to commit to multiple seasons of more or less any story, to be honest. I want to watch films and I want to read books. What's everyone reading right now, by the way? I'm reading This Brick. Maybe you've heard of it, Stephen King's It. I did not remember that this is over 1,100 pages long, but here we are. I want to know these source material details for myself. But as I already said, tell me what you're reading right now. I like to know what books have captured the audience's attention, but also specify if the book is good, because I just read a book that was terrible. It wasn't for recreation. It was research for a source material video. It's probably already up. It was Verity.
You have achieved a triumph of mediocrity.
Okay, now let me complain a bit about Cyril because I still don't like him. Don't send hate to the actor for just doing his job. But the character? Oh, dirt nap. Time to go. First of all, how dare you, show writers? Throw in this ham-fisted reveal of Lynn and Cyril having had a friends with benefits thing. Disgusting. Why do you keep doing my girls dirty? Every time Ruby Bell breathes, someone gets mad at her, and they're always stressing her out, trying to sabotage her life. Lydia is endlessly terrorized by her father, and she's desperate to prove herself to him, and it's making her have really bad daddy issues, to the point that she's now been impregnated by the predator teacher at her school. And you keep trying to romanticize that relationship. You're very weird for that.
You have a weird energy.
And now you're dragging Lynn into this too. She got drugged by Elaine last week. There was no justice for Lynn, for being drugged because she doesn't matter to you. And now you reveal that she's interested in the absolute worst male option in this ensemble, excluding the fully grown adult characters, of course. I was horrified. And then they have Cyril being a loser who thinks he's a nice guy, but he's actually a creep, making moves on Lydia and then lashing out at her for rejecting him when she never once said anything to indicate that she was interested in him, because she's not. You see how fast he turned on her? Girls in the audience, let that be a lesson. Don't trust him. Who's him? You know who he is. In your life, don't trust him.
But I knew who they were, and I told her who they were. Shitheads.
I can tell that the episode was attempting to do this homage to A Midsummer Night's Dream by having so many people throwing their feelings in the direction of everyone else, but it got to a point where I think I was getting overstimulated because of how vicious and cruel the betrayal was towards Lydia, and how little I care about soft launching different pairing options. It feels like you're just trying to see what sticks more than any meaningful, compelling homage being done to the play.
No, because I know you're a fan of Shakespeare.
More than a fan, we're involved. Thankfully, though, this whole dynamic between Ruby and James carried the entire Midsummer Night's Dream portion of this episode. Him acknowledging his old patterns of behavior and manner of thinking and how he's not going to respond that way now is significant character growth compared to the beginning of this season when he was acting out with his intoxicated antics at the pool party and lashing out at Ruby when she needed to draw some healthy boundaries at his house. But the whole matter of Ruby Bell having her scholarship taken away from her, I beg your finest pardon, why is Mortimer Beaufort still alive? You know he did it. You need to get rid of him. I'm so sorry. Have you ever read an Agatha Christie novel? Have you ever watched Murder, She Wrote? Ruby, you're good at organizing and putting together a plan. It's time for execution. Season 3 of Maxton Hall, a whodunit where we know who did it and we cheer when they get away with it. Ooh, I would watch that. I jest. Of course, I'll watch the actual Maxton Hall Season 3, which I am quite confident will not be a whodunit of Mortimer Beaufort, though I would absolutely cackle if Season 3 opened and that was revealed to be the actual storyline. Could you imagine? Oh, I love a good whodunit.
It makes no damn sense. Compels me, though.
You've got more than enough characters in this ensemble to do one, and several motives, I'm sure. The way that man moves through this earthly plane, oh, he will have enough enemies to fill a mansion, to fill a castle. Ruby losing her scholarship and trying to get that back, and whatever Lexington got on his phone at the very end of this episode. All of these things are going to be major driving forces for episode 6, so buckle up, everyone. Remember that this is the Empire Strikes Back season, so there is plenty of drama afoot. But we can all rest easy knowing that there will be a 3rd season, so whatever happens in the next episode, which I've already seen, they will finish the story. I'm assuming that season 3 will be released next year. They were already efficient enough to get this 2nd season done in time to not make the audience wait longer than a year. That's a true rarity in the modern direct-to-streaming market, which is one of many reasons why I mostly cover films that are released at the cinema. I don't like to wait unless it's truly worth waiting for, like a new James Cameron's Avatar film. Those films need 3 years because they invent new VFX technology whenever they make a new one. They are pioneers of the field.
I want to see it.